He was young, full of hope, and chasing a future he believed was within reach. But one desperate moment changed everything. Faced with a system stacked against him, he turned to the one person no one expected, a billionaire who held the power to alter his life with a single choice. What happened next was not just about money or even survival. It revealed the cruel truth of who gets heard and who gets ignored. This is the story they don't want you to know. Marcus was just 23, a young black man with big dreams and an even bigger work ethic. He grew up in a modest neighborhood, raised by a mother who worked 2 jobs and taught him that respect and perseverance could carry him through anything. By day, Marcus balanced classes at the local community college with shifts at a warehouse. By night, he sketched business ideas in a worn notebook, believing that one day he'd build something of his own. Life wasn't easy, but Marcus carried hope like a shield. He kept his head down, worked hard, and stayed out of trouble, just as he'd been taught. To those who knew him, he was quiet, determined, and full of potential. But beneath that quiet determination was a constant, unspoken struggle. He saw doors closed before he could knock, opportunities snatched away before he could even try. One setback too many left him desperate. He was drowning in debt from school, the warehouse cut his hours, and every application he sent out seemed to vanish into silence. With his dreams slipping further from reach, Marcus made a choice few would imagine. He reached out to someone far beyond his world, a billionaire with the power to change his life in an instant. He had no way of knowing that this decision, born of hope and desperation, would uncover more than just rejection. It would expose the harsh reality of what happens when society decides who deserves compassion and who doesn't. At first, Marcus thought his letter would never be noticed. Who was he, after all, compared to the thousands who begged for a billionaire's attention every day? But to his surprise, a response came, not from the billionaire himself, but from his office. A meeting was offered, and Marcus felt something he hadn't felt in months: hope. He ironed his best shirt, rehearsed every word he planned to say, and showed up early at the glittering glass building downtown. But the moment he stepped inside, the weight of his skin color seemed to press harder on him. Security eyed him as if he didn't belong. People in suits glanced, whispered, and avoided his path. Marcus tried to ignore it, telling himself this was just nerves. Still, a voice inside reminded him, this world was not built for you. The assistant who finally greeted him wore a polished smile, but it never touched her eyes. She guided him into a waiting room lined with portraits of powerful men, all white, all wealthy, all untouchable. Hours passed. No one offered water, no one updated him. He sat there invisible, watching others in expensive suits breeze past, ushered into meetings within minutes. His name wasn't called, his presence wasn't acknowledged. By the time the billionaire finally appeared, Marcus's hands trembled from both anticipation and exhaustion. This was it, the chance to present his ideas, to ask for help, to prove he was worth believing in. But instead of listening, the man looked him over with a single, cold glance. The words that followed weren't encouragement, weren't even polite dismissal. They were sharp, dismissive, cutting into Marcus like glass, a reminder that in the eyes of power, his struggle wasn't even worth consideration. The billionaire didn't see a young man with dreams. He saw a stereotype. He assumed laziness where there was hard work, irresponsibility where there was sacrifice. Marcus left that building with his notebook clutched tightly, but every step down those marble stairs felt heavier. The world had just told him, once again, that no matter how hard he worked, the color of his skin defined how seriously he would be taken. Yet Marcus wasn't ready to give up. That dismissal only ignited something in him. He began sharing his story, at first with friends, then online, where it spread faster than he expected. People saw his pain, his effort, his truth. And while some rallied behind him, others spat cruelty his way, confirming the very prejudice he was fighting against. The backlash grew louder, uglier. But Marcus didn't back down. He had touched a nerve, and in doing so uncovered the depth of what so many like him had endured in silence. His story was no longer just his own. It was a mirror, reflecting a system that rewarded privilege and dismissed perseverance when it came in black skin. And as his voice grew louder, so did the resistance against him. What happened next would test not just his resolve, but his very safety. The breaking point came one night when Marcus agreed to speak at a community forum downtown. He thought it would be a chance to share his story, to inspire change. The room was packed, cameras lined the back, and for the first time he felt his voice carried weight. But with visibility came hostility. As he stepped outside afterward, a group waited, not supporters, protesters. Their signs mocked him, their voices cut like knives. Lazy, fraud, stop begging. He tried to walk past, but the circle tightened. One man shoved him, another spat words too vile to repeat. For a moment, Marcus thought they might not let him leave at all. The fear was suffocating. His mind raced with the names of others who hadn't made it out of situations like this. Young black men who were cornered, provoked, and punished for simply existing in the wrong place at the wrong time. He knew how quickly things could spiral, how a headline could erase years of hard work and boil his life down to a single phrase: troubled black man. Security eventually intervened, but the damage was already done. Cameras had captured every second, not his words of hope inside the forum, but the chaos outside. By the next morning, the story was everywhere, twisted into something unrecognizable. Headlines painted him as aggressive, as a threat. The very billionaire who had once dismissed him now publicly denounced him, saying Marcus proved why some people can't be helped. The betrayal was crushing. Everything Marcus had worked for, every ounce of dignity he fought to preserve, felt stripped away in an instant. His dreams seemed buried under the weight of lies, prejudice, and fear. And yet, as he scrolled through the avalanche of hate, something unexpected emerged, voices defending him, strangers refusing to let his truth be erased. The injustice that tried to silence him had only made his story louder. But the question remained: would the world finally listen, or would Marcus become just another name lost in the storm? Marcus never got the support he had hoped for. The billionaire's rejection and the media's twisted headlines left scars that would never fully fade. But the experience didn't break him, it reshaped him. He realized that waiting for validation from power was a trap. His voice, his truth, carried more weight than the approval of someone who never saw him as human to begin with. In the weeks that followed, Marcus leaned into the community that had rallied behind him. Ordinary people, neighbors, students, workers, saw themselves in his struggle. They amplified his story, not because he was flawless, but because he was real. Because what happened to Marcus wasn't an isolated injustice. It was a mirror of what countless young black men face when they dare to dream beyond the limits society sets for them. And that's the deeper wound. Marcus's story reveals how racism isn't always a shouted slur or a violent act in the street. Sometimes it's the quiet dismissal in a boardroom, the way opportunity is withheld, the way someone's entire identity is reduced to a stereotype before they even speak. These invisible barriers break hearts, bury dreams, and remind people like Marcus that they are seen as less, no matter how hard they fight to prove otherwise. Marcus's life didn't become a fairy tale after that night, but he carried forward, refusing to be silent, refusing to let his pain go unseen, and in doing so, he gave others permission to speak too. His voice became part of something larger, a chorus demanding not charity, but justice. The truth is, Marcus's story could belong to anyone. To the student ignored, the worker overlooked, the dreamer denied because of the color of their skin. And until stories like his stop repeating, the question remains: how many more dreams must be crushed before the world finally learns to listen?